Hi there, and a very big welcome to you to this series of lessons on the blues. So this video and the ones that follow are all about teaching you how best to play the blues on your ukulele, and also understanding where it comes from. What is the blues? What is the historical, emotional weight that the blues carries? All these things, they will help you to best understand it and to best play it. These go, of course, hand in hand, obviously. So a lot of great blues players, they say, first and foremost, blues, it's a feeling, right? So it's not something that you want to learn through figuring out a pentatonic scale. Oh right, this is the pentatonic scale of E, that's fine, so I can just jam along. Well, sure, that can work, but it's really nice to take a deep dive into where the blues comes from and really what it does represent in the history, specifically of black people in the USA. Because it's a style of music that comes from the heart of black people who are following slavery and continued oppression. And that's what we're going to talk about. These are going to be interactive lessons, which means that I'm going to be playing some stuff and you're going to have to be playing some stuff too. So make sure you've got your ukulele ready for later on. But first and foremost, let's start with a bit of history, because my notes are just to your left over here. But I know most of this stuff, but I need to say it in the right order. Anyway, the blues, it comes to us really, or that's what most bluesmen say, from the Mississippi Delta. This place in America, southeast really, but they used to call it the West because there weren't any people more west than that much at the time. Anyway, the Mississippi Delta was the largest cotton farming area in the whole United States. Pre-Civil War. There were twice as many slaves than people who actually had rights, so white people at the time. And even after the Civil War, 2/3 of the independent farmers were black, right? But that didn't last long enough, unfortunately, because in 1890, the white government, the local government, the civil legislature, decided to change everything, and they installed a bunch of laws that basically took all of the rights from black people away, disenfranchising them, making them unable to vote, making them unable to own property, reducing a lot of families to debt through huge loans, and basically what happened was they were subservient to the white landowners once again. So that's quite the terrible drama really of the end of the 1800s, and that continued well after actually the civil rights movement of the 1960s, and actually we can still see that happening today with white lawmakers in the South making sure that black communities and black people can't vote enough. You know, they're sending lots of black people to prison, and then ex-prisoners can't vote, people with the wrong kind of ID can't vote. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that blues comes from that. Blues comes up in the 1910s and 1920s, so it's in that context that the blues surfaces. And it's a mixture of lots of things. It's a mixture of, first of all, the African heritage, of course, the African music that the slaves still kept singing on the fields and singing between them when they had the opportunity to rest and maybe make some music together. Sometimes songs of praise also that they would sing in church, but they would sing slightly different versions on the field. Anyway, that's part of what develops this contrast between Western music at the time and this new style of singing that the slaves and then the black farmers were using. It's a mix also of different things, the blues, because some little notes, as we'll see later, maybe they come also from drums and flutes. After the Civil War, people were making their own flutes. But when blues first starts to be recorded, it's really, first of all, it's just a man and a guitar. That's what's going on, and it's influenced by European music, but with this distinct sound of the call. And that's what seems particularly interesting to me, is that blues is a style of music developed not with necessarily clear notes. It's a call. So the music of blues follows the music of the voice on the fields. Ah, no, no. So it's not clear notes. And as much as classical music, for example, or Western music at the time, is all about sensitivity and getting the right note and the intonation, the blues is actually more about the pain and the emotion and the wailing. Really, oh brother, oh oh brother, and that's not clear notes, you see, that's the really interesting musical element of it. And the emotion and the heart is also in these micro sort of mini tones. You're gliding between certain notes in the scale with lots of heart, and that's what builds up the blues. That, and of course then the heavy beat that we have in certain songs, tum, 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 and that comes from Africa quite clearly. Tum, tum, tum. I hope you're sitting tight, because let's do a little bit of historical musical archaeology. Over the past few years, I've been reading here and there a book called Slave Songs of America. Is that the actual name? Slave Songs of the United States, right? Well, and on page 153 of this PDF that you can download, there's one of the songs that was gathered. This is all gathered around the end of the 60s, 67. There's one that's a song about somebody on the Mississippi River, or the waters over there, and singing about he's going to go back to Alabama and see his mother again. So it's quite interesting to see, it can pop up here, you see, it's quite interesting to see how the white person who went there to try and write down all these melodies listened to this and wrote down, wait, it's in G minor. You can play a G minor if you want. It won't help you much for the singing, but open 2, 3, 1. Ooh, ah. Basically what's written here is, but just a little note, don't worry if this is a bit long. This is all part of my thought through process to really make you feel what this is all about. So, here we have a G minor. I'm going to Alabama. For to see my mommy. So, what they also say is that that's not really how it sounds. They say this is a very good specimen, they say, or example, so far as notes can give one. Because of course, they spend a lot of time, these writers, at the end of the 70s, 1870s, they say, or 1860s, they say, well, I mean, we're trying to write the notes down, but this is really not what's happening. And sometimes it changes all the time. So we just picked one version and tried to write something that looks like that on our Western music sheets, right? But of course, that's not at all what it sounded like at the time. This is my interpretation of probably what it would more or less sounded like at the time. I'm going to Alabama. For to see my mommy. So I don't know if you can read notes. It doesn't really matter, but basically it doesn't follow the notes like it would on a sideways flute or whatever. It's really about the call, and it's like a whale, not like a whale, but I mean wailing in the sense of it's like a singing, but singing your pain out, really, which is kind of funny because whales actually, when they sing, they don't have clear notes too. They go ooh, ooh. So they also glide. So I guess whales and whales, not that dissimilar actually, but that doesn't really help us know how to play it. Let me give you the second verse, and I'll sing it quite differently, and that's probably what they did on the fields or on the boats also. She went from old Virginia, oh, and I'll be a pickaninny. Oh. Actually, that's a word that can be quite offensive nowadays. But originally it comes from the Portuguese meaning pequeno, or pequenino, we meaning the baby. And here in the context of this song, this sang by, of course, the black sailors on the boats, that means her baby, and I'm her baby. She went from old Virginia, and I'm her baby. So going back to Alabama because I'm in Virginia, my mum's not there. And a lot of the time they would have this call and response thing going on. And you still have that in blues concerts, and definitely in the recordings that we have from the 1960s or whatever, where somebody will sing something and somebody else goes, woo, yeah, all right, you know. And it was a very communicative kind of singing. So these slight variations on notes is really something we don't have a lot of in Western music. Oh, I'm going to Alabama, buy me, buy me. That's characteristic of what then people would be playing on the guitar, pulling the strings to make sure that making sure to have that feeling and that emotion in their playing. Finally, you're rewarded for your patience and your interest in these matters. And now we're going to grab the ukulele. And first things first, we need a heavy beat and a heavy triplet beat to play the upcoming riff. So heavy beat is tum, tum, tum. But it's not just a beat. We've actually got triplets in there, meaning 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And if you just play the 1 and the 3, you get 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. And that's kind of what you need to have for the next little bit. Now I'll show you what I want you to do is just play the open C string on all the beats. Boom, boom, boom. And now we're going to play open. Boom, 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 boom. This is just open C string. And now we're going to play something a little bit different now that you've got the feeling of it. It's open string, again on the beat, boom, and then boom, boom, and then here we're going to play ba, 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 boom, boom. What's happening here? We're playing a 3, 3rd fret on the E string, so E3, but sliding up with your ring finger. Boom, 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 boom. And here, 1st fret, boom, and then pull up C3 boom, by bending it, meaning that you have lots of strength behind your ukulele. You hold it firm and you push the string downwards to create that wailing effect that we've talked about, that very natural voice effect. Ah, yeah. Apologies for my American accent sometimes. Right, so what we've got is this here, right? We've got oh, 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 3, 1, 3, oh, 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 3, 1, 3, 1. And on the 2 3s, we've got something different happening. One we're sliding on from the fret below, for example. And then 1, which we lift. We lift so it doesn't ring too long. And then this 3, we have the... So this here, the C, is our root note. And here you have the minor 3rd. This is the minor 3rd. And the minor 3rd is bending towards a major 3rd. Okay, now you need to make sure this is locked and loaded. So we're going to play it both together. And don't stop. You're not allowed to stop. You need to keep going. Right? Okay, 3, 4. Oh wait, you weren't ready. Are you ready now? Yes. Okay, good. You remember? Okay. 1, play it together. 2, 3, 4, and dum, 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 dum. I'm also muting the strings on the C, so it doesn't ring too long. Okay, continue. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, really good. Okay. Again. Keep going. Don't worry. you missed the one there. Okay, good job. If you managed to, out of the blue, hold on and keep on playing while I was playing all of this. What was I doing? I was doing the classic blues structure, which is basically, the idea of it is, usually when they're singing is, I say something, I say something. I said I say something, I say something. Oh yeah, that thing is what I said, absolutely, and I said it because of this reason. It's 3 lines, basically. This is what I said, this is what I said, this is what I said, and now a bit more lyrics on the last line. And musically, we've got the root chord, which we're going to call number 1. And here it's a C, of course. Open C string was our root note. C7 is going to be our chord. 2 and 4 beats per bar. And basically it's the 12 bar blues, because we've got 3 times 4, 12. And we've got root note, root note, root note, root note on the first line. And on the second line, 2 bars of subdominant of 4, 2 bars of 1. And on the third line, we've got dominant, G7, 4, F7, C, C7. That's what's going on with the blues structure. And this you actually find in all sorts of songs throughout many decades. All the classic blues songs, a lot of them are built like this, and a lot of the ones that we're going to have a look at are actually built like this. May it be from the great bluesmen like Muddy Waters, B.B. King, Wolf, Lightning, you know, they all use this structure. And it's not always the most complex type of music, but it doesn't need to be, because it's always coming from the heart. And going to get these notes, that is where they then, bluesmen, have the space to really express themselves. Because it's in these tiny micro intonations that carry the instrument, or carry the... It carries itself like a voice. It's like singing with an instrument, wailing with an instrument. So feel free to keep practicing this riff, and to go back to practice with the 4 lines of me playing the ukulele and you playing the riff behind it. And in the next video, we're going to have a look at some more riffs, change the key, and change up what we're doing also. And there'll be some new ukuleles taking part too.